And then what you want to do is you want to try to get the needle through the cap and the wefts first. And then once you get that tacked together, you can worry about getting it properly on that cap. So we want to stay on that line, that guideline. And we want to get that needle through there. Sometimes it can be a little thicker on the edge. And you always want to back stitch because you want to make sure you secure that that weft onto the cap. All right, so we're turning the cap a little bit so we can keep it on its guideline. And you can start off slow like this if that helps you. I just usually go a little fast because I'm used to it, but slow still wins the race. You can go as slow as this, as long as you're making sure that cap is steady. And we don't want to pull. You don't want to tug and you don't want to pull anything. You're just holding the cap in place, no tension at all, while the machine is guiding the cap through. Because I find that if you tug and pull and try to push the cap through the machine faster, you're going to stretch the cap and the measurements are going to be off, because at this point you have stretched the cap out of its normal form that we've created when we put the measurements on here. So no tugging. See how I'm just letting it guide through the machine? And if I need to move the cap or turn it, I'll just turn it. I'm not doing any tugging or pulling. And you kind of want to curve it a little bit so we can get it directly on that guideline. And we want to back stitch. So at every end, we back stitching. At every end, we back stitching a couple of times and get that locked in place. And you'll just pull it off and cut. And once you get it off, I usually just cut my tracks. A lot of people don't like to cut the tracks because they say something about shedding, but I really don't get any shedding or any shedding issues when I cut the tracks. And I think the back stitching helps with that. I have not been able to prove it yet, but I think it does. But I know it back stitching definitely helps with locking that cap in place. Strings from thread, you can cut that off later or you can cut that off as you go. Actually, for the sake of this video, to keep it a little shorter, I will cut the strings off later. Remember, I'm opening the cap up, but I'm not stretching the cap. I'm just placing the fabric on there and letting it roll. See, I'm not stretching the cap, just opening it up. And I'm not putting any pressure on it. I'm guiding it through the machine. No pressure. Do not stretch your cap. And even when you think you're not stretching your cap, sometimes it's like human nature to kind of put pressure on the cap. So you just have to keep reminding yourself, don't stretch the cap. Don't stretch the cap. Just let it guide through the machine. The only thing you should be doing is turning it when you need to. And you don't want to put too much pressure either when you're turning the cap. All right, and then we're at the end of that one. And then, of course, cut our thread, cut our track, and we keep going. Uh-oh, press the button. And I'm just gonna sew like normal, and then you all will be able to see in the video. And then once I get up a little further into the cap, then we'll come back and talk. Oh, really quick. I did take the little gadget thing off of here. I did take the little piece that comes with the machine. I did take that off. If you can't remember what it looked like, it's this little machine, this little piece right here. And it just goes into the machine under here. And it just helps me stabilize a little better for sewing. So I just take that little piece off. And what I'm doing is I'm sewing both at the same time, the track and the sewing down the lace closure at the same time. So you have the lace closure here and the track here, and it's a zigzag stitch, so the needle is bouncing back between the weft and the closure. If you look closely, you can actually see All right, so now that we stitched the closure with the last track, it's all stitched together. Perfect. And then we just have our stitches in here. And I'll show you all the full cap and what it looks like after I cut all the excess threads off. And this is the wig we just made. And I would put it on the canvas head. Oh, I have to lock the canvas in place. All right, I would put it on the canvas head just to make sure it's a good fit. So of course it's crooked, but there we go. We'll just put it on there. Add some little pins. Take it down in the back. And I would just feel, make sure there are no bumps and no lumps. And that means it's a perfect fit. See? No bumps, no lumps. It's a perfect fit. Now I'll just turn the wig inside out just so you all can see the stitching. And this is how the stitching looks. Very neat, very pretty. And I'll try to put it on the cap so you all can see it a little better. And that's how the stitching looks. And you should see your stitching will be a little thicker on the ends, and that's because we back stitched so we can lock those wefts in place. And now I'll show you all how to cut off the excess cap so we can expose the lace and get it ready for wearing. All right, so we'll just hold the cap like this so we can cut that excess lace. And if you're not really good at cutting the lace, you want to cut a little further from the line to prevent you from cutting on the line that you sewed. See that? We'll just cut the rest. All right, and that comes off there, and then there's your lace. And after you cut that, your cap should look something like this. And then sometimes you'll have some excess pieces on the cap, and you can just trim that. Make it look really neat. But when you're doing custom wigs, you want to make it look as neat as possible. Or any wigs, you want to make it look neat. And if you want to see how I cut and style this wig, let me know. And if you also want to see how I bleach the knots, let me know in the comments.